into what we're doing tonight. So, as you all know, it is Irish Whiskey Month, which for somebody like myself who has absolutely no Irish in them, I just love Irish things. I love March. I love like fake Irish things, right? Like I love St. Patrick's Day. I Let's be fair. I just like getting drunk on green beer. So, I am I wanted to make this a thing, and I think I started doing this 4 years ago where I thought to myself, "Hey, you know what? St. Patrick's Day is in March. It makes sense to cover Irish whiskey all of March because nobody else really does. People will intersperse Irish whiskey throughout the year, but I wanted to make it a celebration, and it's important to me because I feel like Irish whiskey is an under represented brand. So I'm glad to hear that, Clifton. So let me say hi to a couple of people who are here. So Eric Waite was in here earlier. I saw Kilco was in here earlier. Congrats on 300 subs, Kilco. That was great. Clifton from Bourbon Bites is here. Spencer, Kevin Underwood, Floydian. I see you all the time, Floydian, but I've never actually had a reason to say your name out loud. So Bubba Franks is here. One Man's Odyssey. Excellent. So glad to hear the audio is better. My internet connection's still kind of crappy, so hopefully everything works out. But let me get to what we're doing tonight. So I wanted to. I'm debating right now whether I should share something I did that was a little dumb, other than just the YouTube stream. So I had this in my head that I wanted to do the Tyrconnell 10 and match it to these three different expressions. And so this was the idea that I presented to Tyrconnell. I have a person who works with Kilbeggan, and I mentioned to him, I was like, hey, you know what, can you get me the Madeira cask, the port cask, or maybe the sherry cask finish, and the 10, so I can do a comparison video between all of them. I wanted to have the 10 and then study the effects of finishing, in these three different types of barrels. I thought I had the 10. And I do not. I thought this was the 10 every time that I've looked at it. And I don't know why. This is a different texture kind of feel than these two. These are more tins. This is like a paper covered tin. So anyway, I made a mistake. So I don't have the regular 10 to compare these two. But the good news is the regular 10 was my 17th video I ever did. And I have my tasting notes. So even though we're talking 2016 at this point, I'm going to just kind of lean a little heavier on the notes and assume that I knew somewhat of what I was talking about. So, Emily Chambers, by the way, thank you very much I got half of what you sent me today. I should get the other half, I would assume, tomorrow, but we'll see. All right, so for those of you that don't know, let me tell you a little bit about Tyrconnell. So Tyrconnell is a brand that's been around for quite a while. In fact, it was, I want to say like a couple hundred years at this point. It was a very, very popular Irish whiskey before Irish whiskey was really much of a thing. So obviously you've got Bushmills and everything, but like Tyrconnell was actually a very popular brand. And it was started by this guy, I think it was Andrew. I have my notes here. It's been a while since, or literally 5 years since I've thought about this stuff. So it was like the Andrew Watt Distillery, I believe, is what originally made this. Now, this is currently made by Cooley, and that is important to know just because things have changed a lot. But Tyrconnell is named after this horse. I do remember this part. This horse that was a absolute underdog in some race like 100 years ago and ended up winning. And just around the time that they were starting this distillery up, they named it after the horse. Kind of makes sense, calling themselves an underdog, all of that kind of story. So this has been around for quite a while, and just see if there's anything else that's super interesting here. Even at this point, so hundreds of years. In 1876, the Watt family entered a chestnut colt named the Tyrconnell into the National Produce Stakes horse race. It had 100 to 1 odds, and it ended up winning anyway. So this is a just generally double distilled Irish whiskey, and the 10-year-old, I'll be honest with you, it was okay from an entry kind of level $30 Irish whiskey. At the end of my video, I did not give it, kind of a rating. I actually wasn't even doing my ratings back then, but I basically said like, hey, you know what? Probably don't bother unless you just have $30 to spend on something, and maybe this is like one of your first Irish whiskeys. It was lemony. It was light. I remember it reminded me like of kind of just summertime. And so in general, it was probably unimpressive. But I'm going to take into account the citrus notes and the light kind of effervescent nature of that whiskey and compare it to these three different bottles. Now, I have never opened these. This is going to be a first tasting for you guys, which normally I save those for my patrons, but I thought this would be kind of fun. Where is my chat? All right, so food is here, but I'll be listening in. Cool. Yeah, I had some friggin' barbecue today. Man, I had a great day today. I went snowboarding for a few hours, and then I came home, went in the hot tub, and then I went and got barbecue, and then I took a little nap on the couch, and then I am live streaming, drinking whiskey with you guys. So yeah, I'm having a good day. All right, I'm just gonna take these all out because I suspect these are gonna be quite noisy. So this is the Madeira, this is the port, and this is the sherry cask. Now, as I mentioned, I got these bottles. I reached out to Tyrconnell and I told them exactly what I wanted to do. And then when I said, like, could you guys help me out either like with a bottle or two or something, and they sent me all three of these. So free product, but you know, we're doing a live stream here. My intent here tonight, just so that we're clear on kind of what I'm doing, other than just kind of evaluating the whiskey and talking about what it's like, I wanted to figure out which one of these I thought was the best from my point of view. Now, I am partial to both sherry and port. I do not know a whole lot about Madeira casks, as Madeira cask finish. It's not the first time I've had it, but it's not something that is very common either. So it's going to be interesting to see where that lands. At some point, after I kind of maybe try these, talk about them a little bit, talk about the way that they taste and such, I don't think a blind taste makes sense because I think they're going to taste drastically different. But I'll give kind of my general opinion on not only should you buy these, but also which one or multiple. They're all basically the exact same price. They're between $78 and $80, and if you find it in your local area, I would imagine it will be the same price for all three. They are 46%, so 92 proof. Geez, second time I've, oh, that's not good. Why is that? Is that leaky? Might be leaky. Yeah, a little bit. Weird. Hate when that happens. Anyway, so 92 proof, 46%, and they're aged for 10 years and then finished for about 6 to 8 months, sorry. It's about 6 to 8 months. This is why we take notes. All right. So, I need a freaking hot tub. Yes, you do, Kilco. You do. All right, I'm going to pour all three of these just to kind of get some of these things taken care of. And I want to talk to you all a little bit about Irish Whiskey Month because I've got some cool stuff planned this month. Yeah, this is definitely leaking. That's very strange. It wasn't even open yet. That's bizarre. Huh. I wonder if I cracked it somehow? I'll have to look at that later. All right, so that's the sherry. Middle one's going to be the port, and then the left one's going to be the Madeira. All right, so what am I doing this month? Now, I know I kind of gave a little bit of a teaser the other day, a little stinger, if you will. It was fine and pretty all-encompassing of what I'm doing. Talking and opening bottles is difficult. What I wanted to kind of let you guys know is that I've got several live streams lined up for this month, and hopefully I do better starting them than I did this time. All right. What I'm planning on doing with my live streams, I want to have a whiskey tuber hangout where we all drink Irish whiskeys. I have not invited anybody yet, so if there's anybody that you'd love to have on the stream, let me know. But for the most part, it'll probably be a lot of the same usual suspects. Like I said, I haven't invited people yet, but I will be doing that. So if any of you guys are watching, you'll have an email coming soon. So that's going to be a thing. I'm going to do, and this is the one I'm probably the most excited for, so bear with me for a minute. So up here, and over there, and all down there, and all up there, I've put all of my Irish whiskeys that I have. And what I went and did is I spent about $250 on cheap Irish whiskey. And when I say cheap, I mean inexpensive, like $20 to $25 or less. A lot of them were $17 or $18. Because what I wanted to do is a blind tasting figure out which ones are any good, because I think that there are actually some real steals in Irish whiskey based off the lack of popularity. So that live stream is going to be coming pretty soon. That one might be next week. I kind of haven't scheduled these. I probably will do that. And then I want to have another one where I go through all of the spot whiskeys and kind of pick my favorite. I think that would be pretty fun. I actually did that with my some friends of mine the other night, and we all had every spot whiskey. I have opinions, but I do think that in a different context like this, I might have some different opinions. So let's see. All right, let's see who we got. A few more people in the chat. Thank you guys for joining. The whiskey is demanding you drink it. Yes, it is. It's harder for me to sit here not drinking it than it is for you guys to watch, I promise. I'm drinking my Tyrconnell 10-year sherry finished. You love it. Awesome. I would much rather drink whiskey with Bill than smoke weed with Bob Marley. Well, Welsh, that's a hell of a compliment, man. Now, here's the real question. Would you rather smoke weed with Snoop Dogg? Because I got to say, I'd probably rather, if I were going to do that, it'd probably be with Snoop rather than Bob. Decided to go from peated island. All right. For Eric. Okay, yeah. So Eric Waite was just doing a peated whiskey live stream, which is not going to play very well with the Irish. So if you happened to be in his or watching his live stream and drinking along with him, definitely drink some water because Irish is pretty delicate. Right, give me just a moment. Hey, Clifton. I know you're not doing stuff. All right, you are doing stuff. You are now a mod. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and go into this. Now, as I said, I'm not doing any sort of blind tasting or anything. So I want to start with the Madeira finish. Well, actually, you know what? I want to think about this for a second. Madeira is a red wine. So is, well, Port's a lot of stuff, but generally a red wine. And so they're all red wines. So none of them are going to be. What I wanted to do was make sure I wasn't going to drink like the strongest flavored one first, because obviously palate's a thing. But let's just start with the Madeira. All right, so cheers to Irish Whiskey Month. Cheers to any of you guys that watched the Blue Spot review today, and thank you all for dealing with the technical difficulties this morning. Cheers. Ooh, that smells delicious. Wow. All right, cool. I'm happy now. Ah, man. I just love that first drink of the day. Although I had a beer earlier, but the first whiskey of the day. I'm not doing yes, I am going to do that as part of the spot whiskey review, Eric. I watched your review about that actually the other day. It's funny. Your review demotivated me from writing what I was about to write, because I was like, damn, this is a good video. I gotta like, I didn't want to just get on and be like, oh yeah, spot whiskey, blah 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 blah. Like, you actually really put out a very good video, so I kind of need to up my game in order to make sure it's quality enough to match you. So, actually, you know what, Eric? Do you have every spot whiskey? I know you said you don't have the blue. Let's talk soon. Maybe I'll have you on the stream for that one. Actually, that could be a lot of fun. Green spot's better than yellow spot. Sorry, not sorry. Oh, bourbon blind. See, that's why you're a bourbon guy. You just don't understand. Is it driving you guys crazy? I haven't had a sip of this yet. Because it's driving me a little crazy. Love your Slain hat. Yeah, that hat's pretty cool. I like it too. All right, so Snoop. Yep, agree. All right. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and kind of just talk about this. I've been nosing this and haven't been saying anything. So, interesting nosing note here. The citrus, I mentioned, I know, geez, I can't talk. The thing you should be able to do on a live stream. When I started the stream, I mentioned that Tyrconnell generally has a lemony characteristic, citrus, if you will. This is very much the same. Now, Madeira is, I remember it's from Portugal. I'm just trying to think. All right, so this says it will have spice accompanied with raisins, fruit tones, and honey with a long, spicy yet soft finish. I don't get really any of that, at least not on the nose. No raisins here. It's floral. It's lemon and lime. It's kind of like a lemony, like smelling Sprite almost. No, it's not like smelling Sprite. It's more like smelling. What's the other one? Surge. Surge from back in like the 90s. Madeira is more tan brown than red. Okay, thank you. I was actually hoping that you would correct me in there, Eric. All right, I'm gonna drink. I'm gonna drink for you guys. Cheers, guys. Mm. So interesting, very interesting, actually. This is where I'm conflicted. I have an opinion, and I'm gonna tell you what it is now, but I'm gonna revisit it after I go through all of these. So I mentioned a couple times already in the stream that Irish whiskey is delicate. The whole double and triple distilling removes a lot of harshness from pretty much every Irish whiskey except for Proper 12. And it's throwing shade. It's it's not what I'm drinking now. Like the I think the finishing of an Irish whiskey is interesting. Like my initial impression is that I don't like the concept. Not that I have anything against this particular whiskey, but this doesn't taste like an Irish whiskey. It tastes like honestly, it tastes like a young finished Scotch, which I guess is kind of okay. I mean, Irish whiskeys are not necessarily trying to be like Scotch, but that's interesting. I don't know. I'm gonna go into this a little bit more. Excuse me. Kudos on upping your shelf game back there. Thanks, D-Man. Bill would easily beat Conor McGregor in a street fight. Well, clearly. I mean, look at me. By the way, I'm wearing a button up for the first time in about a year, only because it's the only thing of this color green that I own. But I'm all right with it. I have something else that's slightly green, and it's a oh shoot, I'm forgetting what the term glass to mouth. It's my glass to mouth shirt with the whiskey glass. Friggin' hilarious. That's true. It is double distilled, which is also interesting, and I was going to talk about that because I couldn't find anything that talks about why they do that other than just that they do. But an interesting thing is the Andrew Watt distillery is commonly cited as being the first people to use a column still, which is very interesting because when you think about it, like if you think about multiple distillations, you're thinking copper pot, and just kind of run it through. A column still is an interesting concept for that, only because it's continuous. So I don't know. That's something I'm going to have to research myself a little bit. But either way, yes. So it's double distilled, so it's not going to be quite as smooth, but it's still going to be pretty smooth. All right, let me talk a little bit about the taste here. Now, the raisins that they mentioned on the back of the can, I'm getting that a little bit more in the taste. The lemon lime is not present in the taste. A little bit of the lemon, but none of the lime. It does taste on the finish. It tastes a bit like a sherry, honestly, or maybe I don't know. It's almost like, hey Eric, tell me a little bit about Madeira, because I know Madeira is, or at least I don't know if all Madeira, but I know this one is from Portugal, but so is this port. And so I'm kind of wondering if they're at all similar, because my initial taste here is that this tastes a little bit like a dried port on my tongue, which is interesting. I'm glad you have your icon on the wall. I was going a little OCD with yeah, me too, man. So I'm gonna tangent for a sec. That friggin' sticker, right? So it's peeling after one day. I got back in touch with the guy who made it, and he was like, "Oh, what kind of finish do you have on your wall?" I told him it's a matte finish because reflections. And he's like, "Oh, you need like a whole different kind of sticker." But he's sending it, but it comes from Estonia, so he's FedExing it. But I should have it any day. It's just not up yet. So if you guys notice this start to peel, you can actually kind of see it over my, like right there. It's starting to peel away from the wall already, and I just stuck it right back up to the wall right before the stream started. So fantasizing about chicken Madeira now. That sounds good. Madeira's is maybe all right. No, all right. Let's talk a little bit more. Hey, Whiskey Brazil, nice to see you. I like smelling this a lot more than I like tasting it. Actually, the smell on this is very, very nice. Yeah, it's kind of like raw honey. Like you know what I need to do? This is something I would recommend all of you do if you ever want to kind of increase your tasting abilities, because I've said more than a few times, like my nosing and tasting is not perfect. Um, it's often, I would say, probably rudimentary. Like you're not going to get crazy complex notes out of me unless I'm kind of really, really having a good day. Um, but one thing I really want to do is I want to try different kinds of honey. Like I want to try, clover honey and I don't know, other honeys. I don't even know what kind of honeys there are. Because all I know is that like that thing that I get in the teddy bear, like that's not the kind of honey that a person who's trying to taste for it needs to be training on. So that might be a thing I do. But what I'm trying to say is like I always encourage people to try the things that we talk about things tasting like here. So for example, if I say, something tastes like butterscotch, like if you haven't tried a butterscotch in a while, like I'm sure we've all had them, but if you haven't had it in years, you should try it again because a butterscotch might not actually taste the way that you remember. And anything else, pears. There's different types of pears, and they all taste a little different. That's important too. I've totally identified green versus brown pears in the taste of a whiskey before. All right. Let's see. 4 types of Madeira. Oh boy. Circular. There's 4 types of Madeira. They can be port-like but lighter in fruit character, sometimes tropical. Okay, that's pretty good. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. Honey is affected by the flowers. Yes, now that I know. I know that you can get different kinds of honey from different types of flowers. That's why they'll specifically call out like clover honey. All right. Anyway, nobody wants to hear me talk about honey. Let's go ahead to the Port Cask. This one is probably the one I'm the most excited about. I am a sucker for port, finished whiskeys. It's definitely a thing I appreciate. So let's go ahead and give this a nose. Much more mild nose here. There's nothing that jumps out immediately. I have smoked cigars. I don't typically. I actually don't really smoke anything. I don't look it, but I enjoy running and I enjoy kind of like being active, and the thought of that impacting my ability to breathe well has always kind of bothered me. Now I know some of the other channels have been doing like whiskey and cigar pairings, and honestly, my channel's suffering for it. That I don't do it, but that's just not me. The last time I smoked a cigar was like 3 or 4 years ago, and it was a fun event, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. But prior to that, I was 5 years old. So it's just not a thing that I really ever want to get into. But yeah, I have nothing against people who do. It's just not for me. All right, let me go ahead and just have a sip of this. Cheers. All right. This is boring. That's so sad. I have this bad habit of looking forward to a whiskey and having it, not bad habit, bad luck, having it just not live up to the hype. The finish on this is getting a little bit better. And when you inhale and kind of get that air traveling over your tongue, you can get a little bit more out of this. But the Madeira is much better at this point. Let's try a couple more sips. There's no reason to hurry through this, other than the fact that I was like 15 minutes late to my stream. But let's go ahead and get into this. I can't smoke. I am. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You don't like Irish whiskey, whiskey Brazil. That's surprising. I figured that a guy in your position would probably kind of just like everything the way I do, but that's interesting. What would you say is your favorite style of whiskey? Yeah, this is kind of boring. It's got it's not coffee. It might be coffee. It might be coffee. It tastes very mildly like the way that coffee smells. It's not fruity at all to me. It should be. It's a port finish. It's yeah, this is interesting. I'm shocked at how little, excuse me, I'm shocked at how little influence this has. Let's see what they think I'm supposed to taste here. Silky sweet taste of rich fruits, honey, and spice gives way to a no, I just completely disagree. Oak finish is what it said. I disagree. I need to, now I do realize this is all the neck pour, but like, that's still, Whether that's a myth or not, I don't know. I'm not really sure where I land on that. I feel like had I never even heard of the concept, I don't think I would have noticed it. But I also think that it would be hard to be studying whiskeys and such and never have heard of that. So it's kind of like a two-way thing. Very weird. But anyway, all right, let's have another sip of this. I'm determined to drink this until I get something more out of it. Scotch, bourbon, rye. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't honey is bees vomit. um yeah, I don't blame you, whiskey, Brazil. I find bourbon to be it's getting better. Let's just say like the influence of let me even just back away from bourbon for example and just say a whiskey made in America. What like American single malts are doing, like I was talking to Robert Licorice about the other day, and just whiskey made in America in general that's able to kind of go off the rails a little bit. There's some really fun stuff happening here, and there's some really unique tastes coming out of the U.S. But bourbons, I just find I get kind of tired of the same tasting notes and just digging for the one thing that makes it different. And that's I don't know. Like when I drink scotch, like I'm with you. Scotch is probably my favorite type of whiskey at the moment. Um, I wouldn't say Irish whiskey outdoes. I don't really know. I'd have to rethink that because it's been a number of years since I've even been thinking about that question, kind of how I would rate things. Obviously, it's very general, but I do know that at the moment, Scotch would be at the top. So I can tell you, I could tell you what would be at the bottom, and it's sad because I like Dr. Don Livermore, and I do think that his stuff is good, and I do realize that he makes quite a bit, but Canadian whiskeys in general are usually pretty lackluster to me. But you guys have heard me rant about that before. All right, I'm gonna move along away from this. Hey, Adrenaline Drunkie, I love that name. That's great. That's really a good name. All right, let's go ahead and get onto the sherry finish. This one, I'm gonna have a little bit more water. This one should be better. At least I really freaking hope so. Otherwise, that Madeira is just gonna be a total, gonna run away with this whole thing. Like as it stands, this Madeira might actually be something I would recommend that you go get because it's an interesting, fun flavor. But I'm gonna revisit that whole concept thing I talked about at the beginning. All right, smell in here. It's kind of weak on the sherry. I'm wondering, like 6 to 8 months is pretty standard for finishing a whiskey. Sometimes you'll do like far less than that, like a couple months. But I feel like it should have a lot more fruity notes, like just red wine notes, really, off of this, but just nothing. All right. Anyway, let's go ahead and have a taste. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Phew. I was. This is what happens when you just open bottles on stream. You have no idea what you're getting into. It's fun because it's just an experience, but don't know that it necessarily makes for great video. Either way, the taste on this one is much better. The port, I'm just gonna push that one away for a moment. Now, this is sorry, Eric is dropping some knowledge on us all, as he is apt to do. In the odd event that none of you, or not none of you, if any of you are not subscribed to Eric Waite Whiskey Studies, he's a guy I go to when I am looking for answers on whiskey. There's very few whiskey tubers that I do that with. I feel like most people are doing research. That's totally fine. I think that they're knowledgeable, but I feel like Eric has experience and a unique view that I could say like Will from Whiskey Crusaders has a very similar kind of background where he's a wine sommelier. Same with Eric, but Eric really takes a lot of time to go into his education and study. I got to think that this year has been tough on you, Eric, not being able to go to a location and actually get to learn anything. Damn it, Whiskey Brazil. I'm really dropping the ball with my Springbank, huh? It's like everybody thinks that Springbank is the freaking best. You know what I need to do? I need to get some of their other stuff, like their Hazelburn. or what's the other one? Long Row. Maybe I'll like one of those better. But I don't know. Like maybe I just need to get more Springbank. It's really hard to want to spend the amount of money that Springbank takes in order to buy more when I so far am 0 for 2. But well, Eric, maybe not. All right. So talking about the Port Cask. Sorry. Chat's a little distracting tonight. Eric, I'm going to go back and reread some of this stuff. He was explaining all about, oh, you guys are seeing it anyway. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the taste and nose of this. So, on the nose, this is more akin to... I have to look. I moved all my bottles, so I don't know where anything is anymore. But there's something that I'm thinking of that this is similar to. Nope. It's fun having a library. The whiskey library doesn't have the same ring to it though, or the built-in joke. What else does this smell like? All right, hold on. Nope. That smells good though. What? You know what? I wonder if it's more because Kilbeggan and Tyrconnell, they're, similar. Actually, I have another glass here. Hold on. I'm into the experimenting part of the night. Nope, that's not it either. There's something I'm trying to figure out. There is I know that one's not sherry finished. But there is a sherry-finished whiskey that I know of, that I have in my possession, that this tastes like, and I cannot for the life of me think of what it is. Smell them all while I would love to. Eric's cracking jokes. All right. Anyway, I realize I'm kind of all over the place here. So this one tastes, it's very dry for a sherry. There's not a whole lot of fruit going on. But what I am getting, I'm just thinking about it, it's got a little tartness to it, reminiscent of cranberries, actually. So I guess that's fruit. But not really the usual stuff like not strawberry, not plum, not... I'm trying to just run through different tastes in my head. I need to eat more fruits. What the freak do you taste like? What are you? What are you? I am starting to like this one a little bit more. I didn't dislike it at first, but I know what it tastes like. I finally figured it out. The Speyburn Companion Cask. That was a stretch, and I do not have that in my possession anymore. That's what this tastes like. That was an ex-bourbon, ex-sherry cask finished Speyside whiskey, Scotch. This tastes a lot like that, and I actually liked that one a lot. I will say the other one I remember as being a lot smoother. This, despite it being double distilled, is a little bit harsher than it should be, but that could actually just be the higher ABV. Pretty sure the companion cask was lower ABV. Are you getting dried fruit? I'm not, man. I was thinking the same thing, and I shouldn't say I'm not. I'm thinking more that I can't identify which fruit it could be if that's what I'm getting. Hard to beat a good sherry finished whiskey. Yeah, man, I'm completely with you. Maybe the Redbreast Stout. I've never had it. I almost bought that for this Irish Whiskey Month. So another whiskey I'm planning on doing this month is the Connemara 12 Year, which I was just talking to somebody earlier today. You guys may or may not have seen the community post I put up the other day where I was asking if I've personally been directly responsible for you purchasing a whiskey, like based off some recommendation I make or whatever. And one guy said that, geez, I totally forgot where I was going with that. Oh my gosh. Speyburn, Redbreast. Nope. And then something else. There was some whiskey that he said he went out and bought, and I just totally lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, guys. That was freaking silly. This only happens in live streams. I almost really never, whatever. All right, so I'm running out of time. I really kind of just got threw off with that whole technical thing this at the beginning of this. This has not been my finest stream, but that's okay. Whatever. It's been a fun concept. So what I want to do, I'm going to rein this in a little bit. What I want to do here is my ultimate decision here is that the Madeira is totally worth purchasing if you'd like to try something unique from an Irish whiskey. These two I would probably skip. The sherry is pretty good. The port is a letdown. Considering they're all $70 to $80, I wanted to have another sip of this to see if I think that's actually worth that amount of money. No, I'm not drunk, man. I promise. I'm really not. I've had very, very few sips of this. It's just, I had a very long day, like, in a good way. I was just exhausted. Like, I fell asleep on the couch like an hour and a half ago. So, and I was up till 2 a.m. editing that Blue Spot video. So, yeah, this Madeira cask finish is pretty good. This is growing on me a lot. Like, I could see myself cracking this bottle off camera, which I don't actually do a whole lot unless I'm doing research. But I like this one a lot. This one would probably get a buy it from me. The port would get an ignore it completely. The price is way too high for what you're getting here. You would be disappointed, I think. The sherry, that's an in the middle. It's not a buy it. It's more between an ignore it and a try it. I feel like they dropped the ball a little bit on the sherry cask, and I'm so sad to say that because, like I said, I mean, they sent me these bottles. I don't like not trashing them, but I don't like saying negative things about people who give me free stuff. But I also feel like I have to, you know, if it's something I don't think is good, I'm not going to say something the opposite. The sherry cask finish, if my mood about this one changes or my opinion about this one changes, I'll let you guys know. I don't think it will. But as I said, my job tonight is not to sell Tyrconnell. It's to explore the difference that the same juice has when it's finished with different kinds of casks. And what I'm seeing here is that the finish has almost entirely overpowered the base spirit. You're almost not getting any of the lemon that you would get. I know I said lemon lime here. I'm starting to think that would just be there either way, as long as it was like a fairly neutral spirit. But in this case, like, you don't even taste the Tyrconnell 10, at least according to the notes that I have here. It's not, I don't know. Like, so this is where I was getting at with Irish whiskey. I love to support Irish whiskey because I feel like the taste is unique. When you start kind of copying everything that everybody else is doing by just finishing your whiskey and all kinds of crazy stuff, you're removing some of the character that makes Irish whiskey. Hey, Michael, repaint my walls. I love this color. I'm keeping it, but I appreciate the super chat. Anyway, I don't know that I like the idea of finishing Irish whiskey. But here's the problem, is that there's plenty of them that are. So, like, even some of the spot whiskeys are finished. And I like those. So, I don't know. Is that hypocritical? Maybe these, like, took it a little too far or something. I mean, look at the color of that. That's pretty damn dark. Like, that's heavily influenced. I don't know. Maybe it's just that the 10-year is too young to be doing this too. Or maybe it just needs to stay a little bit longer in the finishing casks. Yes, some of them are. These specifically are double distilled. So, yeah, I'm really trying to come to a conclusion here. My wife loves pretty much everything I do. But actually, so this room here is just mine, and I did that on purpose. We just built 2 new rooms in the basement. She has an office. I have an office. I work from home now. She works from home like 1 day a week. She's a teacher, and this room is just awesome. I love being in here. It's really cool. I actually just got an Alexa for in here too, and I'm gonna hook up all of my plugs to like be smart plugs, so I can tell the studio lights to turn on and everything. So that's gonna be pretty awesome. All right. So anyway, let me kind of wrap up. I've only got a couple of more minutes here, and I know that ADHD whiskey goes on at 10 o'clock, but so I believe Bourbon Blind you go on at 10:30 if you haven't already left the chat. So whichever one of those might be your forte, go check them out. I'm sure either one of them is doing a great show tonight. Unlike myself. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to be doing, as I've mentioned before, I'm going to be doing several live streams this month. The next one will likely be tasting bottom shelf Irish whiskeys to try to see if there's any winners in there. So I'm going to suffer so you guys don't have to. After that will probably be either the Green Spot or the Spot Whiskey kind of blind tasting, which hopefully I can bring a guest or two on with me. And then I would love to finish, or at some point this month, have a Whiskey Tuber collaboration kind of live stream. So I've got a lot planned, and I'm going to be doing a lot. So I hope that you guys will find a way to come join me. It's great to have your own zone. Congrats. Yeah, for sure. Work at home is pretty nice. All right. I guess that's really it. I don't have a whole lot more to say. I'm kind of bummed I don't have just the regular Tyrconnell 10 on hand. That was kind of the whole point, but oh well. This has been fun either way, and I've come to realize that I really like Madeira finish. I'm going to find some others. I love sherry finish typically, so thinking about how much better the Madeira was than the sherry has got me excited for what other Madeira whiskey, finished whiskeys there might be out there. Anyway, thank you all for joining me here on the Whiskey Dictionary, and I hope you have a great rest of your night. Look this next week. I think next week I'm releasing a new batch of challenge coins. Sorry to cut my own sign-off there. I just wanted to make sure I told you guys that. So I believe next week they're going to be yellow, and they're going to be pretty cool. So cheers, everybody. Have a great rest of your night.